Hello and most welcome to 1559 of the series. I will continue with a John McFarlane article because it's one of the most interesting things I read in a quite some time. Last time, 1556, I started for that rather short lecture to look closer into where does the inside start and where does the outside start, and how do we tell them apart. And I think mostly we do not succeed in telling them distinctly apart. We were talking about involution and evolution, that the subtle particles are more close in appearance to the inner, and the grosser, less subtle are not too far from the outside, the exteriority. This is a way of telling them apart, to make a dividing line, to in their sameness also see their difference. I'll put some sunblock with your permission. It's 50. That's rather necessary in this spring sun of the spring, I mean. I'll block the rest of the sun with my sunglasses. And we were also starting to look into more detail about the relation between the inner and the outer. A point starts at the transcendent infinite one, manifesting from subtle to gross through the process of involution, then turning around back toward its source in the infinite one through the process of evolution. Objects are experienced as rising from formlessness into form, and then dissolving back into formlessness. And here we have a very nice connection between form and formlessness. Zero or one and the many, interior and exterior. Objects are experienced as arising from formlessness into form. And then dissolving back into formlessness. Depending on whether they are experienced as inner or outer objects, their movement is clockwise or counterclockwise. Since all points on the circle are equivalent due to rotational symmetry, however, there ultimately is no evolution nor involution. That circling is chirality. It is the founding factor of all in the universe between sky and earth. Is it clockwise or is it anti-clockwise? All properties, all factors depend on that. In the three orthogonal perpendicular directions of the Cartesian take, there is no possibility of properties or definitions or acute understanding. The dynamic rotation of the circle, which does not alter in any way, provides a moving image of eternity. Plato, from the perspective of the line, the rotation of the circle is projected onto the line as a movement of points along the length of the line down the hierarchy of involution, which is movement from infinity to zero. And then up the hierarchy of evolution, movement from zero to infinity. Depending on the direction of rotation, the projected points on the line either move to the right or to the left. Either they arise or dissolve from the infinitely subtle inside, or from the infinitely subtle outside. We can follow subtler and subtler phenomenal objects of experience back to their outer source in Brahman. Or we can follow subtler and subtler modes of knowing back to their inner source in Atman. Either process implicitly contains the other necessarily, since knowing must be fitted to its objects. So, absolutely decisive is whether the movement is clockwise or anti-clockwise. Makes for the extension of space. So I think it's important to understand there is no extension in space. The rotational is the space extension. Either process implicitly contains the other necessarily, since knowing must be fitted to its object. Once more Plotinus. When we see deeper into the interiors, we see deeper into the exteriors. Finally, the emptiness outside merges with the emptiness inside, when the line is realized to be a circle and continuity with the point at infinity is unveiled. Involution and evolution as interpreted Involution and evolution as interpreted above represent the timeless nature of arising and passing, the dance of form and emptiness in the eternal now. These terms also have a more concrete interpretation within the categories of space and time. In particular, within the forms of time and space and matter. The involution process can be seen in the first epoch of the universe, during the symmetry breaking process that unfolded the diversity of fundamental physical forces and particles from a unified reality, prior to distinctions between the forces. Resulting in a vast cosmos of many particles of matter and light. As the cosmos then began the process of evolution, these particles combined and began a process of increasing complexification. This interpretation, however, is an image of the process restricted to the most concrete levels of reality, conditioned by time, space, energy, and matter. Timeless now, or eternal now, it includes also past and future, and the temporal now. So now is not a very fitting word at all, I would say. Actually confuses more than it shows. And timelessness is not true either, because it includes time and non-time. It's the inclusion of opposites. I will just briefly begin with the next. The plane and the sphere. We will now generalize the line and circle to the higher dimensional analogues, the plane and the sphere. The plane contains the original line. And the sphere contains the original circle. So all the statements made earlier with respect to the interpretation of the circle and line carry over to the sphere and the plane. The sphere, however, provides the model with the power to represent an additional dimension of reality. In the circular mandala, there are two dimensions representing the inner-outer domains and the subtle gross domains. The sphere can include an additional category in the third dimension, which can be interpreted in various ways as we shall see. Let me just conclude here and we've seen the inclusiveness of opposites is more than the opposites together, and it's very confusing, I would say, even almost on the verge of putting wrong things in one's head. And you also see a great connection here. I really like how John McFarlane shows another way of looking at inner outer, because it's very hard to tell what in my experience is inner and what is outer. It doesn't even make any sense. It is all there together without an inner or an outer. It makes more sense to see the subtler varieties as inner and the grosser as outer. The grosser, less permanent, passing features of reality as the coarser exteriority of reality. The finer, more permanent features of the inner, or the finer features as the inner. Delicate, gracious, filigrane, fractal, complex. That makes more sense. Because reality is just here, now, directly, without any deviancy. It makes itself present. To make a division does not really make any sense. It defies sensibility and thinking. I think this is a grand opening to a greater understanding that I am not here in that sense. Saying that I am the origo, as we have from John Occam, Thomas of Aquinas, Galileo Galilei, Copernicus, so on, going into Descartes, Newton, Hume, making something a center of experience. Either it's origo, where all the perpendicular orthogonal lines are meeting, or an unknown place of origin, as in the Newtonian scheme, where we don't know where the observer is. Those two, the fixated origo or the non-fixated, are showing up the same weaknesses. They point to that reality must have an origin, a truer self, a truer, non-copied, direct reality. And seeing the line as a derivation of the circle opens up a lot more thinking. It's freeing up space for thinking, making unclear things come to clarity. Well, John McFarlane is just excellent, the article. I hope I can find more written by you and possibly even get in contact with you wherever you are. I don't have that much information as of yet, but this is mind-boggling almost. I feel gobsmacked. It's incredibly interesting. Thank you very much for listening in, and have a very pleasant day. Bye bye for now.